in a sport.
Hey, you know who isn't? Doc Rivers is joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next. Doc, we're so thrilled to have you back on the show. We're getting ready for and getting excited for Saturday's opener against the Nets. But I got to find out, not that I'm checking on you, but what are you doing this week? Is it about rest? Is it about getting in the film room and breaking stuff down? What is it as you prepare for your first round series?
Well, it's probably a little bit of all those things, you know. And hello, guys. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Doc?
Yeah, it's everything. You know, it's rest. You know, get your mind off the game a little bit. Get your mind on the game more. I mean, it's a combination of that. You know, you don't recreate the wheel going into the playoffs. You just try to, you know, take all the knots and then bolts and make it run smoothly, and that's what we're doing.
Hey, Doc, you've had many playoff teams, and you have friends that have coached many playoff teams, obviously. Two-part question here. How often are coaches rock solid on their teams going into the playoffs, and are you this year?
Yeah, I think you're pretty solid. I don't know if you're rock solid ever going into playoffs because there's always one guy, you know, or two guys that you may play more or may play less. And the playoffs will dictate that. There's always something that goes on in the playoffs that you have to adjust to. But other than that, I mean, you trust your team and you like your team differently each year. And I really like this team. This is one of the best teams that I think I've coached in a long time.
When you see 54 wins going into a year, that's a lofty number. And a couple years ago, it would have gotten you the 1 seed. This year, it gets you the 3 seed. Has the East really become that where the seismic shift is going on, where the East is dominant over the West?
Yeah, I don't know if we're dominant over the West. We are. The conference is way deeper. There's no doubt about that. Having said that, the West still has some pretty top-heavy teams, you know. But the East is a monster. I mean, you just look at the 3 records. Our record would be number 1 in the West this year. And when you have 3 teams, the 3 teams that we have with Boston, Milwaukee ahead of us, you know, 54 wins, you're in third. That's a pretty lofty conference.
Doc, Brett Brown used to always say to me that the playoffs are just a different animal, and it doesn't compare to regular season. That being said, what is maybe a weapon to go after this different animal in the postseason that maybe wasn't something that you saw a lot that you use, that you didn't use the regular season?
I don't know if we'll use anything different. We'll just be better at it. I think we're a better passing team than we've been in the 2 years that I've been here. And we have to be because you have Joel Embiid on your team and, they're going to trap. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at him every night, and you have to be prepared and ready for that. I think this team is. I think we're a better defensive team than we have been in the past. We're longer. We're more athletic. We're tougher. And I think we have more two-way players. So I think those are the things going into the playoffs that give you more comfort.
The other night when you came out and said the MVP race is over, everybody in town sort of applauded and loved that you acknowledged that. But behind the scenes, in the course of a season, how much do individual accolades and helping players achieve them matter to you as a former player who's now a coach?
Don't talk about them like zero. We don't mention them much. Probably around the All-Star team, you're hoping your guys make the All-Star team. And as a coach, I call every coach in our conference to make sure they vote or ask them to vote. And there's a lot of lying that goes on there. I can tell you that. And then doing the MVP thing, if you have a candidate, how many coaches can say they've actually had a candidate for MVP? A real one. Very few each year. This year I was fortunate. The last couple of years I was fortunate enough. The coaches don't vote for it. So, listen, individual accolades is part of team success. And so whenever you can get those are good for your team as well.
Doc, the other night watching the game, I brought this up on air last week. Tyrese Maxey came to the sideline, and you walked out, and it was such a parent moment. I could read your lips, and you said, "What did I just tell you?" And normal thing that happens during a basketball game and all. But I love the growth, and I love the way you approach him. And we've talked about this on these airwaves before. What do you need from him come playoff time? What is it? I'm not talking just points and rebounds and all, but what do you need from him for this team to keep advancing in the playoffs?
Yeah, he's just still young and just focus, focus out of timeouts. I think what you're talking about was that instance because I know that.
It was.
I have no doubt about that. And that's an area that he has to improve in. Focus on the weak side defensively. Most of these college guys, they come in and their weak side defense is poor. And Maxey has really improved over the last couple of years in that. And then his biggest improvement this year that has kind of gone unknown is his ability to pick up the ball and pressure the ball. And he's doing that every night. And that's going to be huge in this series because he's going to be guarding bigger guys. They're a big team at the guard spots. And, we always talk about it in the front court, in the back court, Tyrese, you're about 7 feet tall. But once the ball gets across half court and it gets closer and closer to the basket, you get smaller and smaller. So do your work early, and that's something he's really focused on. And then the last thing is staying aggressive. And that's easier said than done. Like he's playing with Joel Embiid and James Harden. Tobias is on the floor. And there's a lot of times that he'll defer to those guys when I'm telling them every second not to. That's easy to hear, but tough to do.
Doc Rivers joins us on the Comcast Business Hotline as he gets ready for the Sixers and the Nets coming up at 1 o'clock. You'll hear it Saturday afternoon. Fanatic. How much does proximity of opponent matter? Does traveling really disrupt the team and playing a series against Brooklyn as opposed to having to travel to Miami, getting on a plane and doing those type of things? Is there an inherent advantage in that?
It is if the series goes deep, It's not if it doesn't go deep. So if it's a 7-game series, getting on a plane, going back and forth to Miami is taxing. But it's taxing for both teams. So it's not like one team has the advantage. But it adds up through the series. Let's say you win this series, you go to the next one, and you have another lot of travel. It does add up. So, being close is definitely an advantage for us, no doubt about that.
Doc, talking about your perimeter defense, there's been times this year when teams spread you out that there's been a lot of wide open things. And then over the last several weeks, I would say, I think I've seen a lot of improvement on you guys out on shooters. What's the key difference in those two games?
Well, really just stopping dribble penetration, and it's as simple as that. Dribble penetration is the root to most evils when you think about it. The guy gets in the paint, then Joel helps. Guy shoots, Joel's helping. Joel's guy's unguarded, he gets a rebound. The guy gets in the paint, sucks in the defense, they get threes. So you have to control the ball. And of all the teams probably in the playoffs, this is the one team you have to control it the most because they are looking for threes. They want to spread you out. They want to run draw and kick basketball. They have a ton of guards. They want to put the ball on the floor, and they have a ton of shooting. So that's what we have to guard in this series.
So not that you want to get hurt anywhere, but where does your preference lie? Would you say if you get beat off the dribble, Joe, I want you to stay with your guy and see what happens because I don't want the offensive rebound, or do I want perimeter players to stay on your guys?
Yeah, I want my biggest preference is just stand in front of the ball. If you had one or the other, we just can't give them easy open threes, especially corner threes. That's an area for them. So obviously, if our big helps, we need someone crashing on Joel's guy, and then we need a guy what we call X out to get to the corner. So you can do all of them, but let's prefer no threes.
Coach, I've heard you talk before about looking up in the rafters of the practice facility and seeing that championship banner and how you want to add another one. And we know how hard you and your whole organization work towards that. Do you feel the angst of this city about not getting out of the second round? And do you also carry around a little angst because it's always brought up about your resume?
Yeah, my resume, listen, I've been to the finals.
Sure.
Twice. So you can bring up my resume all you want, but
you know how it's a pick and choose type of thing, especially when it doesn't happen recently.
That's why I always say it's hard. So I do hear the angst, but I hear the angst from every city you go to. It's not just Philadelphia. Teams that don't go, there is angst, and there should be. And I tell my players that all the time. They'll mention that, man, these people are so hungry. And I said, they should be. They have the right to be. And you should be even more. And so, yeah, I want to win. I want to win another title. I will say this. We don't talk about getting out of the second round. To me, that is such low expectations for our team. We talk about winning it. So I guess there's angst getting out of the second round, but I can tell you we don't talk about it. The angst more is to try to be a champion, and that's what we focus on way more than just getting out of the second round. You obviously have to do that to go where you want to go, but that's not our focus. Our focus is trying to be a winner.
Do you believe there's any kind of mental hurdle within as far as getting over that second round hump?
No, I don't. I don't. I think probably more for the city because, people have lived here for, since the last time they've gone. But, DeAnthony Melton's been here for 9 months, so I would say guys that maybe have been here for a while, Joel Embiid, probably being the only one on our team, Shake, and those guys because they've been involved. But, P.J. Tucker's been here for 9 months. Melton, 9 months. Jalen McDaniels been here for 4 months. They don't carry that cross because they haven't had anything to do with it. This is my third year. So, I think that's more of a city thing because, I'm a Chicago guy, right? And I'm a Bears fan, growing up. And think about my angst, 85. That's it. you know what I mean? And I remember.
We have zero sympathy for you, but we understand. Yes.
You do understand. But, and so you want to be the city and the city of champions. You do. And we have really good sports teams right now. The Eagles were phenomenal. Our soccer team, the Phillies, everybody's good. We're good. But we want to get to the finish line, man. We really do. And this is a team, in my opinion, that has the chance to do that.
Doc, one of your biggest burdens throughout the year is delivering this team, and we've talked about it many times, healthy to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is this as good as it could be, and how good is it right now?
It's great, but, I think we forget it was good last year, and then we got hurt in the playoffs.
Right.
Good the year before, and then we got hurt. I mean, Joel's injury 2 years ago with his knee, there was no way I thought when he went down and you saw that injury, there's no way he's playing. When Joel hurt his hand last year, that was our first question. Well, how is he going to play with this hand? And he tried and he did, but he was never effective again, with that injury. And so we just got to stay healthy. I mean, obviously, you guys, some of this is luck. You just got to – it's a grind. And Joel's going to get beat up every night. That's what teams try to do. But we just got to keep him as healthy as possible. All of our guys, not just him.
By the way, the daycare looked really good the last 2 games. The youngsters really did did look good. It got people like me wondering, is there how do you find the balance of getting those younger players maybe more time during the season as opposed to like the wholesale thing at the end of the year?
Well, it's tough. I mean, they have guys in front of them. I always tell guys, and, listen, everybody loves the backup quarterback. I think we all understand that.
Except with the Bears.
Yeah, no. The Bears, we want a starting one.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think you have one now, yeah.
I think we do. Yeah, I think we do. So we'll see. But, it's a competition, and it always is. And what people don't see is the practices and who's out playing whom. And it always has to be that way. So, Jaden is a great example. I think he's on his way, of being a really solid NBA player. Last year, he wasn't even close. And this year, the jump that he's made has been extraordinary. And that's through work with our staff. That's through work in the G League, which is our staff. And it's been great. And he's a phenomenal kid. That's what you want. You want these young guys who aren't playing to stay hungry, to go after it, to work every day. You remember Maxey at the beginning of 2 years ago, and I kept saying Maxey's going to be a player. I said Maxey was going to be a shooter. No one saw that because he was shooting 28%. But I saw every day him making shots in practice and working. Paul Reed works. We have a good group of coaches that really work these guys, and it was awesome. The Atlanta game even more. That was for those guys because Atlanta had to win. to be able to play in a meaningful game was just awesome. And it was really nice to win the game.
When you're relaxing in retirement, by the way, you can again thank me for Jocks and Jills, the amount of dollars that I spent at your place down in Atlanta. You need to open up like a Doc's place here.
Oh, my gosh, no.
Now you don't want to get back into the restaurant bar business?
Never restaurant bar. Bar maybe, but not restaurant.
Doc, we so appreciate that you came out to our live show. And
that was a lot of fun. And thanks for getting George Yang to say all kinds of crazy things. That was nice.
We appreciated that, too. Thank you, Doc. We'll talk to you soon. Good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
And we'll check in again soon. Doc Rivers joined us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is